A visceral film on a Hindu minority's violent expulsion from the Kashmir Valley is polarising opinion across India.
The good thing about the film is that it's shown the truth.
For the first time, a film is being made on Kashmir genocide.
It will help in enforcing a polarization between Hindus and Muslims within this country.
The controversy around the Kashmir Files boils down to one question. Is this film catharsis or propaganda? Propaganda that repeats talking points of the current ruling party, the BJP, or catharsis for the hundreds of thousands of Kashmiri Hindus expelled by Islamist militants from the Indian-controlled Kashmir Valley. This forms the major storyline, and it's based on events from late 1989, early 1990. At that time, a revolt erupted against Indian rule in Kashmir, which is a Muslim-majority region. Both India and Pakistan lay claim to it. Various rebel factions arose, among them secular groups and Islamist militant groups backed by Pakistan. The insurgents orchestrated a wave of targeted killings against Kashmiri Hindus, also called Pandits. They were perceived to be aligned with Indian government rule. Hundreds of thousands were forced from their homes and later ended up living in refugee camps across northern India. The makers of the Kashmir Files interviewed hundreds of Kashmiri Pandits who had to flee their homes. Their experiences, dramatized a fair bit, form the core of Kashmir Files. But so does quite a bit of political commentary, presented in cinematic style. It's become a box office hit that quickly earned the endorsement of the Hindu nationalist BJP government. Prime Minister Narendra Modi offered his personal praise and hit back at the film's critics who say it plays fast and loose with the facts and stokes anti-Muslim sentiment.
Those people who always fly the flag of freedom of expression, that entire group, has been shaken in the last 5 to 6 days. And instead of discussing this film on the basis of facts and art, they have started a campaign, an entire ecosystem, to discredit the film. If somebody has the courage to uncover the truth, what he saw as the truth, he tried to present. But there is neither an attempt to understand nor accept that truth, nor agree to let the world see this truth. That's the kind of conspiracy we're seeing.
That rhetoric falls in line with the sense of Hindu victimhood and divisive messages about Muslims that Modi and his BJP allies have nurtured on their rise to political power. And they want as many people as possible to see this film. BJP-ruled governments in at least 8 states have exempted the Kashmir Files film from entertainment tax. Notably, the opposition-led government of the Delhi capital region has refused to lift taxes on the movie. Now, taking away state levies means tickets are cheaper and more people will go to watch it. Here's a look at what the Kashmir Files is about and the different reactions it's ignited.
The Kashmir Files claims to shine a light on a forgotten tragedy in India, targeted killings and attacks on Kashmiri Hindus, as an Islamist insurgency gripped the region in the early 1990s.
We interviewed around 700 first-generation victims of this genocide, took their video testimonials and cross-checked them with all the historians. And after 32 years, for the first time, a film is being made on Kashmir genocide.
But its depiction of the past is also being used to stoke new divisions.
It seems to me that the interests of the Kashmiri Pandits are not central in this. It seems to have some other agenda, which is a wider agenda, a political agenda, which is being played out in the rest of India, which, to put it bluntly, is to generate and to, how should I say, heighten a kind of Islamophobic reaction all over India, and in which it has succeeded. There is no doubt about it.
Beginning with inside the theater. Emotions that audiences are taking home.
It is the duty of every Indian youth to salute these nationalists. More such films should be made to lift people's sentiments. It has shown the sufferings of Kashmiri Pandits so that they can get justice. It's a very nice film. The good thing about the film is that it's shown the truth.
But some critics say the film distorts the truth, such as the actual number of Kashmiri Pandits who were killed.
It's an anthem of free Kashmir, exactly.
How many were killed? Official figures will sometimes tell you 89 were killed, sometimes they'll tell you 260 were killed. Estimates by a local NGO in Srinagar, which represents the interests of Kashmiri Pandits, says that 600 were killed. This film says that 4,000 were killed. Now, I think it matters, these figures, the precision, all of this matters if we are going to lay claim to the fact that a film such as Kashmir Files represents the truth.
Among Kashmiri Pandits, opinions differ. Some take the film at face value.
After a few days of exodus, our home in Kashmir was set on fire by militants. And my father has never, he's never able to go and visit that place. So because of that emotional trauma and everything, yeah, all the events shown in the movie are true.
But others say it's not the complete truth.
Mr. Agnihotri should have looked into specifically that only Pandits were not being killed. At that time, Muslims who were pro-government, they were also being targeted, selectively targeted and killed by militants and mujahideens and jihadis. Yes, there were certain elements in the film which can help even create polarizing right now. It will help in enforcing a polarization between Hindus and Muslims within this country, which is problematic to me. Other than that, it was very emotional film for me.
An emotion that's been cathartic for some. For others, a dog whistle to religious polarization.
And the public has come in droves. 1 million tickets were sold on opening weekend alone. And joining the crowds are many right-wing Hindu hardliners spouting anti-Muslim tirades. Here's one from a theatre that played the movie.
उनके पतियों का खून खिलाया कि नहीं चावल में मिला करके, तो ये दरिंदे इतने दर्दनाक अत्याचार करते जिन्हें आप सह नहीं सकते। और ये बड़वानी में भी मौजूद है, ये मध्य प्रदेश में भी मौजूद है, ये गली गली चप्पे चप्पे पर मौजूद है। गर्व से कहो हिंदुस्तान, गर्व से कहो हिंदुस्तान।
Join me now for more is Ashok Swain. He's a professor of Peace and Conflict Studies at Uppsala University in Sweden and a noted commentator on Indian political affairs. Professor Swain, 2 words keep coming up when we look at the debate around this film: catharsis and propaganda. Is one of the two applicable or both?
I think it is. It's an out-and-out political propaganda movie. The reason why I say so, because it's a movie which has been made by people, or the main people, those who are engaged in this movie, are from the ruling regime, and they are a known supporter of it. Then also the regime or the government, which is in power, is giving all sorts of support, all sorts of ways that it had never, India or anywhere in the world probably had never seen this kind of promotion. And the way the government is making it available for people to see, and the way it is being propagated all over the country, it shows that it is a clear-cut propaganda movie. The other thing is that how this really, how much it's bringing to the table, what it really wants the people to get from the movie. The movie is clearly made in the name of the Kashmir Pandits or Kashmir Brahmins, those who have been, they left the Kashmir in the 1890, fear of terrorism that time. And there has been, that is the issue which is supposed to be told in the movie. But the movie has been, that is no problem. I mean, the movie, if you want to project that, that's fine, a history. But the history should be projected as history, rather than creating all kinds of narrative which to put Indian Muslims as if the only way of blaming or hating Indian Muslims. That is what is happening in that movie.
You know, a lot of Kashmiri Pandits have seen the film naturally, and for many of them, it's a very emotional. It's very emotional watching this film, because lots of them, and this is the truth, they had to leave their homes overnight. These were their homes of many generations, and a lot of them essentially had to leave at a gunpoint. Not all of them, but a lot of them had to leave under these circumstances. And I therefore wonder, I mean, can you blame them or others for feeling the way they do about another community? I'm not saying it is right, but it's just a question.
No, it's absolutely fine the way Kashmir Pandits are feeling themselves. I mean, this is our feeling about the revisiting the history and feeling the pain. That is there. And nobody can deny that the Kashmir Pandits have been thrown out of or they have moved. In some of them moved, some of them that time. I think we need to also look at the history that time, that who was in the how it was been facilitated, whether they were really on the gunpoint. Some people have moved on gunpoint, as you mentioned. Some people have been moved, or most of the people have been moved. It was a facilitation by the government which was in power that time. So it is. But the thing is, the pain is still there. It has been continuing for 30 years, or more than 30 years now. So it is, nobody is denying that the Kashmir Pandits feeling the pain, but the country needs to look at it that what the movie is not telling the whole story. The story is much more than that. The story is that there are also Kashmir Muslims which are much larger in number, those who have suffered. The number of Kashmir Pandits, which is the movie is projecting, is saying almost 4,000. But if you ask the Kashmiri Pandits organizations, they have never given a figure more than 650. The government figure varies from 200 to 68 or something. So it's a huge number variation. Then the film says this thing took place at the time of a Congress government. That's absolutely not true. The regime or the government which was in power at that time was the government supported by out from the outside, though they were not part of it, but they were supported by the present ruling party. So you are giving a figure which is absolutely untrue. You are only focusing the blame on a particular community, while that community has also suffered in that conflict massively. Then the third thing is you are blaming a party which has no role at that time for that incident, and the role was actually the ruling regime was actually part of that process of really moving that exodus of Kashmiri Pandits from Kashmir.
So what you're saying is that this film plays into the ruling party's talking points?
This film has been made for the ruling party. This film is made by the ruling party, and this film is promoted by the ruling party. There is no doubt about it. Because the reason in which country a government will give the staffs free, or the government staffs have got the free to, they get a day free to watch the movie. This movie has been tax-free all over the country. This free has been given a certificate.
I'm sorry to interject, Professor, but it's not tax-free all across the country. Yes, many BJP-ruled governments have made it tax-free, but then this is not the first instance of a film getting entertainment tax-free status. Other films in the past have also got them, and they haven't necessarily been political films.
Absolutely. I'm not saying that India has been free from those kind of things. Absolutely. But what has happened, like the manner this has been, or the out-and-out political film, and particularly the other films might have been promoted for political reasons, but this film is promoted political benefits, but also at the same time creating hate and animosity and vilifying 14 to 15% of the country's population, which is more than 200 million. And that's what the problem is. This film is a politically beneficial for the ruling regime, and that I can accept that other parties have done it, but it also at the same time is vilifying 200 million of minority community, and that is leading to not only the political benefits of the ruling party, but also creating this anti-hate feeling in all over the country, which is really it's something which, I mean, the country is going through this anti-Muslim hate campaign for a long time, but this film is also adding a major contribution to it.
Do you think that what we are seeing, at least the debate around the film, and there has been outrage in many quarters, and there has been a fair bit of support also, it must be said, for this film, this kind of polarization that we're witnessing over this film and the potential issues that it represents, is this essentially a picture of modern political India?
You see, India had always this kind of division between the different communities, but it depends on how it has been managed for a long period of time. Since particularly its independence, it has been a project in itself how to manage that. But what has happened in the last 8 years, it has been a government policy, or present government's policy is to do all sorts of things, creating the Muslim hate as a major political campaign, not only gaining political majority, but also in all sorts of way entrenching into the Indian social system and political system. And that is where the problem is, that it has become the new Indian politics for the last 8 years. It has been always, but I think what is new is this has now the government's promotion or government's backing to this, and which is government is exactly doing this for own political benefits. And that's where the problem is, that the politics used to be done before, but now it has the regime's approval to it.